Subscribers, I have a special guest joining me today. Mr. Bruce Linton returns, this time as chairman of the Innovation Committee for a company called Above Food Corp. Bruce, welcome.
James, how are you, man?
I'm great. It's so good to see you. Why don't we start with an overview? Tell me about what is it that Above Food Corp does?
So the simple headline is sort of field to fork. So think of it as if you were talking science talk, it's plant-based proteins. If you're talking to people who actually have a wallet and an appetite, what you're talking about is a company that takes a great deal of care in growing and controlling all of the ingredients that are plant-based. So think of various protein types, growing them under control, having their certification designation, organic or otherwise, and then turning them into ingredients that go into finished products they make. So think of whether or not you wanted to have an unsophisticated thing like a burger, getting a little more interesting, a different kind of pizza, and going all the way to where it becomes quite novel things. So think maybe you could actually make a great shrimp alternative that would be turned into something terrific for, say, a sushi. And so this is a business that's gone from being 3 generations, 65,000 acres of farmland, making plants into seeds that get sold and you never see again. Now they're adding the value above, get it above, just selling the plant seeds.
Wow, that's cool. So then what's the status of this business? It's not a publicly traded company, and is it going to go public? Is there a way for our investors to participate?
Yeah, so everything I get involved with, I have no gain in this unless we become a publicly traded equity. So I have zero income, zero comp, zero equities of any value unless this thing becomes listed or goes through transactions to be bought by a listed company. And I think it's better to be listed than to be bought. So yes, we're aligned on that. It's related to a couple of other companies in the group, and you'd see it in the press release. But really what we're looking at, and the reason I was attracted to them, I did, as I mentioned to you off air, I did a SPAC, special purpose acquisition company on NASDAQ on May 1 last year. And we de-SPAC'd March 31st. And I started off looking at how disruptive could hemp be, what that protein could be, which led us down a number of interesting topics to look at the mung bean, at hemp, at different fibers, 172 companies in total. And what fascinated me was the small percentage of the addressable market that's tackled by really thoughtful plant-based products that are terrific in taste, that are well-researched, that actually have proprietary methods of creation that you'd stand in line to buy. So I got quite excited about how do you put a bunch of these together. So one way that we might play with Above is if we put a couple more pieces together, if you were running one of these 700-800 SPACs out there, you would probably come begging to us to say, could you come into our world as an example of a way we might go public?
That's interesting. So this is a company that's generating revenues, and is it profitable?
It's generating revenues. It's like a lot of these things. It could be profitable if it quit being innovative. So it has real cash flows, real revenues, but it's plowing them back in so that you can have more and more of those above products, so that when we are in retail, we're not selling one thing. We're trying to have a suite or family of products that represent a range of tastes and purpose and different meal types. And so it is, it's being, what I like to think of is, I think you should measure the value of profitability in a company once a year so the company can focus on profitability. If you measure it every month or quarter, people get distracted just trying to be short-termism. And so this one's not short-termism. It's actually building very interesting, making acquisitions already. Got one done, a couple more on the sort of the radar to put together the pieces rapidly to be a highly valued position player in that whole, I'll call it sustainable table.
Sure. Okay, so what are some examples of the products and where can we find them?
Well, so you can't get them yet, but examples of things that inspire us. So I'm super excited to be Canadian again. That had fallen away from me for a while, because you can now buy a great American product here called Just Eggs, Just eggs. You know what they're made with? Not eggs. So I still bug Josh about the name, like it's just not eggs, but they taste terrific, and they're made with a mung bean. And what they do is they make this product that looks like a folded egg. So think of frying something that's liquid in a square frying pan and folding it so that it becomes like a napkin, 4 pieces. And then it's cooked, and all you have to do is heat it from the freezer, and you put it in a bagel with avocado, a little bit of jalapeno. I think that tastes better than an egg. And So that kind of product is the inspiration because it's vegan, it's sustainable, and it's delicious. And it's protected intellectual property produced in a way that's now taking it around the world rapidly. So that's more like an inspiration product.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so
Did I just make
then
you hungry? Like, do you not wish it was breakfast right now? Because I just described that in the way I think I saw a little drool come out the corner of your mouth, James. I'm not positive, but I think I did.
yeah, well, Bruce, I've got chickens laying eggs every day here, and a wide variety of them. So I'm going to try
Well,
these just eggs, but they've got a high bar to high bar to cross in my universe because my eggs are generally 15 minutes old, organic
yeah.
and free range. So we'll see, but
Well,
that's a good test.
and you know what I liked about the Just Guys is they actually cheer for your chickens. And when I say
Oh,
that, they're not opposed to eggs per se. They're opposed to the industrialization of hens. So they love eggs coming from your format. What they
ah,
don't love is the mega middle, which is let's put 3 or 4 hens in a cage small enough that they can't all get to the food and water at one time, which means they have to keep moving around in the cage so that they actually can eat and drink. That kind of egg they don't like. Your kind of egg they cheer for. And so
sure.
I like them. And I think you'll find with Above, we're pretty oriented to sustain reliable long-term thinking. And that's because Lionel and his family are third generation, 60,000 plus acres of farmland. So they're not trying to do something that says, well, let's blow this up over the next 6 months, but who cares? This is like you can't get longer term thinking than when you have folks that are, land-based farmers producing for multiple generations from the same platform.
Sure. Is the four square folded omelet shape sort of indicative of the ambition of that company, where that's pretty much synonymous with every breakfast sandwich from all of the main fast food suppliers?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're starting to see them show up in smaller places. I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in bigger places. But what they also they've been in the news a little bit, and this is just as think of it as ambition. We like what they thought about. You could go to Singapore about 2, 3, 4 months ago, and you could actually try chicken product that they had produced without chickens, but it was actually cell based. So these guys are super ambitious, very thoughtful. Like I really like them. You got to pick somebody as your sort of way out there star. And so I put Just as that. But in the case of Above, what we have that's the biggest advantage is we control the entire supply chain of our ingredients. So now if you have great ingredients that you control and put together then great research with great recipes, you should end up with something that's substantially more marketable and better and different. And so that's one of the things I liked about the group was the actual chain of custody all the way up.
Interesting. All right. So then, Bruce, what's the competitive landscape in this field right now? It seems to me that there's a lot of new non-traditional food types coming to market. There's all kinds of, starting with Beyond Meat, obviously, but now we've got alternative eggs. There's a huge range of alternatives to milk products. So what's the competitive landscape? Is it going to be something that is so widely accepted that everybody's going to trade in their steak for an alternative?
Well, I think there's room for a bunch more yet. And the reason I say that is that, you have Beyond Meats, which has been a very visible player. They've had some successes and failures, but generally highly regarded. But they're still not tapping into a number of the ingredients that we produce in Canada in meaningful ways or could. So, for example, one of the bias I have towards is hemp protein. Now, hemp protein is way more bioavailable. The plant is a way more eco-sustainable than any other of the field crops. Like it brings in more CO2 than any other field crop. So think of it as those offset benefits. And it's not been used. If you went and said, well, I really want to see an advanced hemp product, we had Manitoba Harvest in Canada. If you wanted like the advancements were, do you want the hemp seed or do you want the hemp seed ground up? Oh, how did you possibly come up with the idea of grinding it up? That's unbelievably genius. So the opportunity to still say those are subordinated ingredients and what do I put them into? And so like, I see all kinds of space where if you said, do you think like the Japanese market would be receptive to something that had, or the Chinese market for the inputs produced in Canada and put together in a format that is a competitive product to a domestic product, which they don't have certainty of quality, cleanliness, absence of, I'll call it whatever chemicals. If we can make something that's branded as Canada, fits to those markets. So maybe you have a terrific, I mentioned shrimp, made a hemp version of shrimp. Super tasty. That's not available yet. And so I think what we have is the first step with these, and that there's now aisles in grocery stores and freezers in grocery stores, which actually have meaningful traffic that have plant-based products. That traffic will increase as the variety and quality of the products increase. That's what we're doing. And so I'm optimistic it's a good start. It's for sure not done.
Wow. Sounds fantastic, Bruce. We're going to leave it there for now. I thank you very much for your time today. We'll come back to you soon and see how you're doing. Thanks for joining me today.